Hey, what up, everybody? Stevie Breach coming to you. Last night, the most thing that got me heated more than anything else on the whole show was Bret Hart. Honestly, I've ignored the Bret Hart situation for a long, long time. Bret was a kid as I was growing up. SummerSlam 1991 is one of my favorite matches of all time. That match is just spectacular. Him and Mr. Perfect. SummerSlam 1991, when I was a kid, was on a VHS tape. Somebody recorded it for me, one of my dad's friends, off of pay-per-view. And they split it up into two tapes. And even though it wasn't the first match, but when I would put in tape 2, mostly to see the main event, it was the first match that would come on in its completion. I think it was IRS and Great the Hammer Valentine sort of cut off in the middle. So it's just sort of the finish, and then you go to that match. I watched that tape all the time as a kid. That was just a really great match. It might have been the match that really changed my perspective on wrestling, instead of just being like Hulk Hogan to like, there's something different about this match. I didn't, as a kid, understand really what it was. It wasn't until later that I really got into, maybe, if it's just a good match, it makes it a whole lot funner, instead of having like a big storyline involved around it that you really care about. And then when the payoff comes, it's just a really bad, horrible match that just makes you like mad that you really put everything into it. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but Bret Hart, for the last couple of months, for the last long while, if you really look over it, has just said some stupid things. And honestly, the way I look at it, I think he just really he knows that by saying things like this, it's going to get picked up on the internet, and people are going to write stories, and people like this are going to make videos about it. That just like, it's so dumb. Like, he went after Triple H, mostly because he's going to be taking over the company, saying that Triple H never really had a good match over his whole career, which I think is bullshit. Triple H, made, great matches out of anything. If you go over one of his first runs as champion on SmackDown and on Raw, they would put him in there against the worst guys on the roster. Maybe not the worst working guys on the roster, but the guys that were just treated like trash. I mean, like, he had great matches with Al Snow, with Yoshitatsu. Yoshitatsu wasn't there. The other Japanese guy back in the day. The lightweight champion. I can't remember his name. I know the second I turn the video off, I'm going to remember what that fool's name was. But him, when Taz was the ECW champion, and they brought him in for that big deal on SmackDown. I mean, like, he had good matches against everybody. Not good matches just against guys like The Rock and The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin, when the Attitude Era was just so packed back in those days. But then he went after the WrestleMania matches, saying that him and Undertaker really only had a 4 out of 10 star match, which is just outrageous. I don't know if Bret thought maybe Vince was going to hand the company over to him or something like that, but you can just see that it's just jealousy, that he feels that he's just not able to really, be who he once was. He wants to be that guy that's still in the limelight. Maybe he really believes that he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And maybe he thinks that he'd still be doing those matches. But I understand that Vince, really wanted to cut his money really bad back in the day. But it wasn't anybody's fault but his own. That whole situation, and at the Survivor Series came up, with him getting screwed. If he just would have done the business and done the job, handed the belt over to Shawn Michaels that night, and maybe went to WCW, lived out his contract, he would have been able to come back if Goldberg didn't kick him in the head. It just seems that he's just really he just has this huge grudge. Like, even when I watched that DVD that came out last year, where they talked about the rivalry between Bret and Shawn, and everybody, in there says that they've really put it behind them. But when they brought it back up and he was telling the stories, you could see that to me, it just honestly felt like he still held that grudge against Shawn, and he really feels that, like, he did get screwed, and he holds it against everybody still, because he just tells these stories, and you can just look and see the expression on Shawn's face. It's just like, shut up already. I mean, like, it's just dumb. But last night, I know that Bret recently had a hip replacement surgery and just everything, but just the look that Bret had when he was coming down the ramp, just told you he didn't give a shit about being there. And even when you're watching the segment and you're seeing, The Rock and John Cena really going at it against each other, in the war of words, spitting things back and forth. He just wanted to be anywhere else in the world. You didn't have to take the booking, which is honest to me, it shows what Triple H is going to be like in the future. Because a whole lot of people always say that Triple H is only going to be loyal to the guys that were in the clique, and really put over his guys that they've always said, guys that work out a lot with him, like Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. If that was really going to be happening, when the fuck is Drew McIntyre going to get a push? I don't really like the guy a whole lot, but I can understand that he does work well, and he bores the shit out of me, but I know that he's a good worker, and maybe if they put him in the right deals, it would work for him. But Triple H is going to do what's best for business. Bret took some shots at him, and I think if it was like Vince, there's no way in the world that, if Bret was taking those shots personally at Vince, that Vince would be bringing him in and Vince would be using him. But, they brought him in. It's not like Bret Hart's going to draw a rating or anything like that. They just wanted to have, the biggest Hall of Famers on that sort of panel that they could do, and they had to send Flair home for the boycott thing, which is pretty bad. But, if Bret didn't want to be there, Bret just should have said, no, I don't want to go to Pittsburgh. I don't want to be a part of it, because his whole deal is just like, he just has a sourpuss looking face the whole damn time. He's no-selling the rock bottom and the attitude adjustment at the end of the night. When you look at the picture says 1,000 words. Rock's face is just awesome. He is just like, you're going 150 down the freeway. He just looks like he's selling that like crazy. He's got that big monster face on, like, yeah, it is on. Dusty's got his hand up like he's selling it like, oh my lord. And Vince is and Bret is sitting in the chair, and he's just sort of like, I don't know what the fuck he's thinking about. But you know what, Bret Hart, I really appreciate what you did for the wrestling business as I was a kid. But if you don't want to be there anymore, just don't be there anymore. We don't really need you. We can move on, and we can put other guys in those slots that want to be there and want to be on TV and try to help out, because I honestly don't feel like you're doing anything to help wrestling out at all. Just sort of like complaining about this, that, and the other. It's just dumb and not needed. But that's what I feel about Bret Hart. If anybody else saw anything in there, it was also pretty cool that a lot of people are pointing fingers at The Rock. Took shots at Bret last night when he was answering the question, and he was talking about, Cena took it like a man. Cena lost, and he wasn't bitching about it, and he wasn't holding a grudge for years. And I think a lot of people can, put one and one together and realize that, The Rock was talking about Bret Hart, and I think he was. But those are my thoughts. Everybody else, tell me what you're thinking, and that's good. Peace out.